Welcome to Sacred Conversations. My name is Mandulo, and the topic for today is love is not enough. So I want you to imagine yourself with me in a space that is comfortable, and it's just two friends having a conversation. And of course, your feedback is going to be on your own and in your own journey, taking the nuggets, whatever you felt you needed from this conversation and whatever resonated, you just run with it and allow it to help you improve on your life. There's certain things where I learned that not everything is beneficial for what you think it is, but for what you need it to be. There's certain things where we can learn from each other and we can learn what not to do as well. That's also information. And really, these are conversations I wish I could have had with family members and friends, but because they also might not have known, or they might have known, but were not able to articulate this information in a clearer way that at least I could have understood, I would have appreciated that. So I'm simply here just sharing whatever from my experience, the nuggets of things I wish I could have known, but I don't regret not knowing, because now I get to be the one that helps someone else. So this one is love is not enough. Okay. This is where it was such a hard pill for me to swallow in one of my relationships. And it was a very hard one because I loved and still love, but I've had to learn a different way of loving. So now I've had to learn how to love from afar. But when you realize that love is not enough, what you realize after the fact is I have connected to you because you were going to show me my darkness and you were going to help me shine my light. But then we were going to forget and we were going to get caught up in our stories and we were going to get caught up in the day to day and we were going to get caught up in the stress of what we wish this could be. So there's so many relationships, even within one relationship. And we are connecting at first through our wounds. That's why we connect. And that's why you feel that sense of familiarity with someone, is because they have very similar wounds and experiences to you that you have both attracted each other to be able to heal. That's why when you find some people in relationship, you can't think of anyone else. Like sometimes family doesn't matter, family's opinion doesn't matter. It's just like, this is the love of my life, right? This is this person who understands me, who understands my wounds. But then you forget that you have come to teach one another and to help each other heal. And in helping each other heal, it's not always going to look the way you expected it. And this is where the suggestibility, your imaginations, your hopes, your dreams has a huge gap to reality. And when I say that love is not enough, and because if the two of you have connected through your wounds and are not doing anything about healing your wounds, but get so caught up in the story, love won't be enough to be able to sustain the relationship in the longer term, right? Because what we don't speak about, and we used to say it when we were younger, where we would go, I like you. We've stopped saying I like you and think that by saying love is the ultimate declaration to being with somebody. But you actually have to like someone. And through liking someone, love gets cultivated. We have almost gone the opposite way, where we just love because this is our dream, this is our Prince Charming, and this is our Cinderella, you know? And we want to fulfill those stories and we want to fulfill those dreams and we want to also get that experience that they have in the movies where they meet at the airport and they run after one another towards the airport at the end when someone is going and they declare they love and they're just like, I love you after so much turmoil. So the programming often comes through romanticizing pain. So it says that you must endure pain inflicted from another because that is what love is. And yes, of course, it is a form of love. It's a form of love that in that moment, it's a beautiful experience to keep forgiving someone, keep forgiving them. Yes, do keep forgiving one another. But at what cost? At what cost to your health? Because do you love someone if you are okay with betrayal? Because if you are betraying yourself, that means you're willing to betray another. I'll say that again. When you betray yourself, you are willing to betray another. So if you don't tell the truth, there's betrayal that resides within that relationship. So you can love someone. And example, I don't know why it's coming up. Sorry if it's hitting a certain trigger point with anybody. But if someone cheats on you, if someone who says that they love you is willing to betray your trust, it's because they are willing to betray themselves. And if two people together are willing to betray themselves and not being honest with what it is they need and being honest to say that love is not enough for this container because we can't be our full selves together. And often it is better to love from afar. Because what I realized is that unconditional love is loving someone through their conditions, not yours. So you remove your conditions and you look at theirs that say, are you willing to sustain someone who wants to come at any point in time in the night, who lives as if they're still single, for lack of a better word? Are you willing to partake in their life fully and completely? This is who they are, and you're not willing to change a thing. And you are willing to sustain and maintain that relationship when they just want to do what they want to do. That's unconditional love. And if you do want to change them, then it might be better that you don't relate together the way in which you had hoped. You are better apart. Because now we forget what liking someone is. I got to go back to that gap because I spoke about generally your love is from your wounds. We love from the wounds, and up until we heal, we will keep adding on and fighting each other. Because why? Like I said in the beginning about how I wished that I could have had these conversations with my family and my mom and friends on this level, that either didn't know that this was needed or they didn't know how to articulate it. So same thing with love. You might not know that it exists like a possibility outside of this narrative, or you know, but you don't know how to articulate your needs effectively so that there is agreement between why is it that we connected in the first place? What is our purpose? And in this purpose, how are we going to support one another? And that also helps you refine, do we have the same purpose? Do we feel like we can build together? Because if you feel that you can't build together, already that's a lack of trust. But if you continue a relationship with the lack of trust, and obviously it takes time to weave yourself out once you find yourself in, when you are healing, when you're going through that phase, then you might just need to give that space to say, okay, am I willing to hold this for you? Because if I do, it's adding emotional baggage on me. Is that good for our well-being? Because relationships are one of the biggest stresses in life. Because we can't be honest with our growth to just say, this version of me can no longer continue with this version of you. Or I need you to participate in X, Y, and Z way for this version to be able to feel safe and supported. But because we don't have that communication, we don't have that necessarily available, then we go into outside sources. Because when you meet each other at your wounds, it's so deep. It's so deep, and it's raw. And the one wants to be able to help the other, but because of any sadness or anger, it's just like, I don't want you here. But at the same time, I need you here. And I don't know how to articulate what part of me needs you and what part of me wants you. And can they be the same? So this is what relationship teaches you. How do I navigate my life safely with you and relate with you, with each version of you that I'm meeting every single day? And I'm not going to hold you down and lock you down to the version of who you were when I met you. How do we build that purpose together? So the love that has been romanticized, unfortunately, doesn't give you that detail as to why we have connected in the first place. Right? So that's the reason why it just felt like I needed to just come share about, like, love is not enough. Make sure you like the person, because yes, you're dating, and let's say you're dating and you come see their place and you're like, questionable whether you're male or female, questionable hygiene, and you don't care because you're in love, right? And you're just like, no, this will go away. As soon as I get in, I'll be able to, quote unquote, change this person and help them transform through my help and play hero. And the next thing, you become engaged. Now you got to live together, or you prepare to live together. And you live together and you start seeing your roles take over. Who am I in this relationship? Who are you in this relationship? In your designation, what do you need to be doing for me? Because any relationship, it's like fish bait. Like, you're like, hey, I'm here. And then you get the person, and then reality has to sink in. Then you get married. But because you kept up with the same habits, you allowed that routine to clean up after the person. You kept quiet. You kept betraying yourself. You bottled up your voice and your truth. Then sometimes you go find someone else who's going to allow you to express your truth, or to be able to just transfer all your anger and suppressed emotions onto them and into them, because they make you feel good, because you don't want to feel the discomfort of not telling your truth. Relationship is meeting yourself on the deepest level and allowing yourselves to be seen even when it's not pretty. You know, it's when you are in relationship and you are choosing, you are saying that I am willing to see myself, to hear myself, and to acknowledge myself with your support. And for you, the other party, same thing. But now if you don't like each other, resentment builds. And when resentment builds, the unconditionality of love can dissipate. So I will encourage you to make sure that, do you like this person that you are being committed to in whatever form, whether it's a friendship, whether it's a colleague, whether it's a business partner, whether it's a romantic connection? Do I like you? Or am I seeking validation to be liked from you? Because what that breeds is deeper resentment. To say, I'm doing this for you because I want you to like me. And by saying that I'm doing this for you because I want you to like me, ultimately means I'm here because I don't like myself. So love is not enough when it's not healed love. If we had to sum this up, and make sure that in relationship you like the person. Because if you just look at divorce, the divorce rates, if you look at divorces right now, then part like 3 things of the marriage breakdown is because they didn't like one another, because of money issues, and the romance died. Remember, everything, to maintain something or to get something, you need to be able to maintain it. It's important that in your relationships, would you be able to maintain whatever facade you have or this character that you are playing? When people are tired of the facade, this is when people are like, you let yourself go, you're not the same anymore, you don't put in the same effort anymore, because they didn't tell the truth. So it's important that you communicate effectively your needs first, even before you go into a relationship. That you discover who you are at least 80%. 80% you're good. It mustn't be the other way around, where you're trying someone else to help you get to know you from a 20%, that you only carry 20% and 80% you want them to fill. That's a very empty relationship, And you look at the divorce rates afterwards, people are so mad. They do vile things to each other after divorce. Why? Because they only love them and they didn't like them. And then 2, the money issues. Money is relationship. You gotta like yourself, because it feeds into that. Your money and your love feed into that. And I forgot the third one that I said. But yeah, love is not enough if you're not healed. And you make sure that you like the person that you're engaging with. And then you can give that relationship time to understand what is it without the force of it, because this is where romance comes in. like you've been dating for 2 years, people are starting to ask, when are you guys getting married? And all of a sudden there's this pressure that by allowing yourselves to discover if that is your, because ultimately if you're going into relationship, one can say, this is, I've experienced X, Y, and Z, and I know exactly what I want. This is what I want. Can you help? Can you fulfill that for me? And then the other person can come in, and it's just like, you can also agree to just say, we don't know, but we like each other and we want to know, what could this be for us? There is that possibility in that relationship where you're just like, you know what, let's just get to know each other without the pressure. And let's just see, what is it that we want from each other? Why is it that there is a huge possibility for that? But we do that ultimately without telling the truth. So now one feels like we're fulfilling the marriage part, and the one feels like, hey, actually, I'm just discovering, do I even want marriage in the first place? Do I even want kids in the first place? Do I even want to live with someone in the first place? Where do I want to live with my partner the next place? Do you know what I mean? So if you are in agreement, that comes from being more intentional. So it goes, be more intentional, basically. Understand that love is not enough, specifically if you are loving from your wounds, and only up until you are healed, then that can apply. Then love is enough, because the love has been built from the like of that person and their daily habits. Because I promise you, when romance dies, actually, in fact, you know what? Romance needs to be cut out in the first place. Like the person, because ultimately what you're needing is someone who can help you fulfill your duties and help you have fun whilst you are doing your chores. I'll repeat that again. A relationship, this is where they don't talk about the happily ever after and what happens, because when the romance dies and you're like, oh, this is going to be my Prince Charming and this is what's going to happen and we're going to go on this holiday and X, Y, Z. But we forget the day to day, the dishes, the house clean, the hygiene clean on the person. Do they clean themselves? Like, you know, are they constantly presentable? Do they like themselves enough to be consistently presentable, to show up, not for the world, but for themselves? You know, this thing goes deep, and we're going to go into these conversations. So please do like, share, and subscribe. And yeah, drop any comments that you want to. We can speak about different things. And if you are wanting more of a private channeled message and you want help with a relationship and where you need that healing, where your wound has connected you to your partner and why, and what role can you play to heal and allow them, once you communicate effectively, to say, look, I've healed this aspect of me. Can you help me here? And then it gives them the no, instead of having to dig it out of you. You can become more equipped and more whole in your relationship, where you can articulate yourself better and go, you know what, I've been frustrated and I've been acting up in X, Y, and Z manner. This is what I've actually been needing. So if you need any help with that relationship, to not blame the other person to need to do a certain thing for you to feel good, but for you to feel good and safe within yourself, and then share that version of yourself with another. And then ultimately, the more you communicate, the more they can help you too and participate and say, this change, this transformation is more of a positive change, and it's not a commanding or a dictatorship where it makes me feel that I'm not good enough. Because ultimately what you're saying in relationship, when you come with someone and you come towards someone, you're saying, I don't feel good enough. I want you to make me feel good enough. Or it can be when you're healed, I feel good enough. Do you feel good enough? And let's share that, right? Because the more you can feel good enough and you can help each other, support each other in that space, you don't have to change another. You don't have to condition them to make you feel good enough. Yeah. So then relationships become more loving and more freeing, because this person, I don't have to feel like I have to know it all, or I don't have to feel like I can't be myself, you know? So yeah, we can do a consultation on the side, and until next time.